On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Tiffany Tarr from Distributor Central, and she talks about how to overcome a bad year. Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman, and joining me today, a repeat guest and a good friend of mine, Tiffany Tarr. She's the VP of Sales at Distributor Central. Tiffany, thanks so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on, so I'm excited.
Absolutely. So, as we got ready for this, and you know this, I kind of try and think about different questions each time, and I was thinking about success and how I think so many of us think that once we get on a certain path, once we get on a certain road, it's just going to be smooth sailing. And I just don't believe that at all. And so I think there are ups and downs. And so you and I talked a little bit before we got on here. There have been ups and downs for you. So talk to us about some times recently when you've sort of seen this firsthand.
So, I've been in the industry 13 years, and I've had a career that I've been blessed with, and I've had a path that I've been so blessed with, and I personally feel like I've been wildly successful within this industry. And I operated for a lot of years, even at the advice of many of my friends, with a really hard and fast attitude, and I just would go hard and I would go fast, and I didn't think that anything would ever happen where I wouldn't be able to continue to operate that way.
Right.
And then 2018 happened, and 2018 has been one of the biggest lessons in my career, and it's been humbling. And while I was going through it, I was pissed, but now that I'm on the other side of it, I can see where I needed all of those things to happen to make me better, even outside of where I knew I needed to be better at.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So, do you want me just to kind of talk a little bit about that?
So talk to me. Yeah, talk to me about what happened and what the lessons were.
So in 2018, I wanted to get better. I'd finished 2017, and 2017 worked so good, and everything was just magic, and everything was just working. And so I went out and decided, I'm this good. How can I be that much better? Because I talked to my kids about this. I talked to my sales team about this. I believe that success happens in a margin of error. It happens in that extra that you give or that extra that you improve. And so I want to learn and I want to do better. And so I went out and tried to get better. But in that process, I lost focus of what was important. And my 14-year-old son was the one that really taught me what happened.
Okay.
We play a lot of sports. And
Right.
My favorite sport is baseball. And JT is an exceptional pitcher. The kid's he's good. But he wanted to be better. He wanted to pick up a few more miles on his ball. He wanted to pick up a couple of extra pitches. And I'm sitting there in one of his pitching sessions, and they're making a handful of adjustments to his footwork because his foot's bigger or whatever this year. So they're making a handful of adjustments, just like this tiny little bit to his footwork. And he goes to throw a new pitch, and he worries about his feet. He worried about the improvement, and he messed up and took his eye off what was really important, and that was the ball. He took his eye off where that ball was. The catcher tossed it back. The kid caught it right in his face, broken nose.
Ugh.
Which, good lesson. So I'm sitting here having this conversation with Jack. So cool that you're trying to make these little adjustments. Your footwork will get better. That pitch will get stronger. But you got to do what's really important. You always have to do what's important and keep your eye on the ball. And I'm saying these things, and I had to stop. And that is exactly what 2018 was for me.
Yeah.
I started trying to get better and do more and be bigger. And I stopped focusing on what was important. And what was important was not my ego. What was important is the customer. And I started making the focus about me and my margin of error and my need for improvement. And I stopped remembering how I got here and who put me here. And I took my eye off the ball.
Yeah.
And it took me 12 months and to pay for a broken nose before I realized what had happened
Yeah.
in 2018. And it has been one of the most humbling experiences I've ever had to go through. And I'm happy that it happened.
Yeah.
Because I will never, ever, ever not remember what's really important and who's not important. My ego is not important. My customer is who is important.
Boy, I tell you what, I'm so glad you told that story. It's a great metaphor for life, because you're right. I think the best of the best are always trying to improve.
Right.
But it's really easy, especially once you have any modicum of success, to be like, okay, I got that. Mm-hmm. Now I want to do this over here. And man, if you lose sight of this, then the whole house of cards comes tumbling down.
Everything breaks. I assure you, everything breaks down.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, that's a great lesson. So again, I think we all have had those challenges. So what do you do? What did you do to get yourself back on track?
Well, so it has taken me. So we're already through the first quarter, and I just now feel like I'm getting back on track.
Okay.
And the best thing that I did, or the thing that I stopped doing, was I was taking myself so seriously, and it was unnecessary. Right. I was so worried about perfection and what I was doing, and I was just, everything was so serious. This is promotional products. Nothing is that serious here. Yeah. I mean, we're not saving lives. Like, I just needed to stop taking myself so seriously. Yeah. And then I started paying attention, or focusing my attention elsewhere. As soon as I started looking at who can I help, what could I help with, how can I get back to my roots, because I genuinely want to help in any way that I possibly can. So as soon as I started having a mentality of who can I help, what can I do to improve someone else or someone else's situation, that stress and that pressure just dissipated. It just went away. I don't feel that stress that I felt all of 2018 when I'm not focusing on me, when I'm focusing on somebody else and what I do know and the knowledge I do have, where it would be a benefit to someone else.
Wow, it's so funny. I was listening to a book called The Obstacle is the Way, and I literally in the last week heard that exact same message. When you feel like you are, banging your head up against the wall, take the ego out. Stop worrying about you and try to serve other people, and it takes the stress. And I think that's great advice. Great advice.
As soon as I stopped trying to serve myself and serve somebody else, everything started improving. Everything started improving. And as soon as I stopped trying to control everything is when everything started getting actually controlled.
Yeah, that's great. It makes total sense. So for someone who maybe is going through, maybe 2018 they had a good year, but 2019 they're struggling. So what are some words of inspiration that you could give somebody who's kind of living in that space right now?
I think you'll start to feel it earlier than you realize it. And just being really cognizant of what you're doing and why you're doing it. Improvement and education and reading, those things, everybody that wants to get better should do those things. But really focus on what got you original success and what got you there. Mm-hmm. Keep your eye on that. And the rest will work itself out. Mm-hmm. Don't worry so much about all those little pieces of improvement. Worry about the bigger piece. And as you're practicing your craft or you're trying to get better, do it in small doses so that you're not trying to take on too much too fast, and then you've lost a sense of who you really are at your core.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great advice. And Tiffany, I really, by the way, really want to thank you for being vulnerable, for lack of a better term. I mean, it's hard. This is the hard stuff to discuss when you feel like you've gotten off track, and helping other people get back on track. And I appreciate you being willing to do that.
No, it's something that we don't talk about enough. And my friends could see it. It wasn't like I was doing a great job of hiding it, but my friends could see it, and they would ask me, are you okay? Is everything okay? And everything's fine. Great. Everything's perfect. And that actually made it worse, that I wouldn't get counsel from somebody who's been there, or somebody who is a confidant, or somebody that's a friend of mine that could have helped me, readjust that mentality. And I actually did more damage by just telling everybody that I was fine than good. And I just think it's something that, at this level, people should talk about, and we should have better communication on the things that just sometimes don't work. And sometimes you fail, and it's okay to fail. It's
Yes,
okay.
100%. Tiffany, thank you. You've answered my 3 questions. I give everybody a chance to ask me one question. Do you have one for me?
I do. Have you ever been in a situation like that? And what lessons did you learn, and how did you get yourself out of it?
So yes is the answer, 100%. One point, so we've got the marketing company, we launched the brewery, and then the real estate piece, but Amy manages the real estate piece. So I was becoming incredibly fragmented with the brewery piece. And I remember going, and again, like you said, people could see it, right? And I had gotten to a point where I said to somebody in my life, I'm like, in all of my life, I've always been able to outrun my own stupidity.
Right.
Like I could outwork it, right? Even if I was being dumb, I could work hard enough that I could cover it up. And I got to a point where I couldn't. And I met with my team, and I was like, what do you want me to do? What do you want? What should I be doing? And everybody's like, focus on the business, focus on the marketing side. And it reminds me, Lee Strom said the other day, he said, focus on the mothership. And it comes back to what you were saying, back to the core, right? Because if the marketing company falls apart, it's funding everything else, right?
Yeah.
and so it was exactly that. And it took me a long time before I'm like, okay, I want this other thing to succeed, but I need somebody else to take the lead on it, because I'm running out of hours. And
Right.
So I 100% empathize with what you're saying. And I guess that's why, if you see me nodding along, and like, it is a real thing. And people who want to have a level of success are the ones who are going to try more.
Right.
And so I think the idea that you've brought it up in a way that you're like, and made it a conversation worth having, is super valuable. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Cool. Well, hey, this was awesome. You did it again, and we will have to do it again sometime, okay?
Yeah. Thanks so much, Kirby.
You bet. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.